This is Steve McNallen of the Asa True Folk Assembly, bringing you the latest on the revival of the ancestral faith of Northern Europe and the awakening of the European-descended peoples everywhere. The gods and goddesses never went away. They are with us always, and now they stir, and we reclaim our spiritual birthright. A glorious dawn awaits. Hail our awakening! Hail Asa True rising! In this episode of our ongoing saga, I want to talk about souls getting lost. How does a soul get lost? And what happens when it does? And most importantly of all, what does this have to do with you? Let's begin by describing a scene from an ancient hall. Packed into the smoky room, the people laughed and danced. Horns of beer sloshed as the tow-headed men and women jostled each other in celebration. The chief sat on his high seat in the position of honor, but beside him was the simple peasant woman who had just been healed, her face aglow with joy in the firelight. All present had seen the healer, clad in his wolfskin inside the sacred circle, when he traveled between the worlds and fought the spirit that had stolen the woman's soul and taken her to the door of death. In tribal societies, people's souls sometimes wander away or get stolen. Affected individuals may lose appetite, become ill, and develop strange behaviors. They become disoriented, unable to respond effectively to their environment. If the condition continues, they die. Today, we would consult a doctor or a psychiatrist, but to the tribe's members, something much more interesting and more poetic has happened. The person's soul is missing. A shaman is tasked to produce the cure. This spiritual specialist makes a dangerous journey to the other world and attempts to retrieve the soul in question, sometimes having to battle fierce demons in the process. I believe that whole groups can experience soul loss just as individuals do. Entire clans, tribes, and nations can lose their soul, their very identity, thus collectively suffering torments like those of a sick individual. When this happens, the group is cut off from the wellsprings of ancestral wisdom, power, and abundance, and if contact with this holy source is not reestablished, extinction follows for the group, just as surely as death comes to the person suffering from individual soul loss. European people have lost their soul. I don't mean just the current inhabitants of Europe, but all men and women of European descent everywhere in the world. The malady is not one of geography, but rather of common blood, spirit, and culture. And the results, they have been catastrophic. For European people as a whole, for people of European heritage individually, and for the other people who have to live on this planet with us. The bad news is that each one of us Eurofolk has suffered a personal loss of connectedness, pride, and potency from this malady. The good news is that we can each gain in happiness and prosperity by reconnecting with the collective soul of our people. Let's take a quick look at our situation. Eurofolk are statistically rich in material goods, and we enjoy the highest standard of living this planet has ever seen, but we are spiritually impoverished. We seek to fill the inner vacuum by chasing the wisdom of other peoples, Buddhism, American Indian belief, anything except our own ancestral spirituality. Cut off from our heritage, from the holy powers, from each other, and from the world around us, we flounder helplessly. Eurofolk are the most stressed people on earth and the least happy. For all our perceived power, we are inwardly weak. Luckily for us, our soul is only lost, not dead. It cannot die unless we as a people become extinct. We can reconnect with the life-giving springs of spirit. We can touch the wisdom of our ancestors, and with it we can each have more fulfilling, more successful, more wondrous lives. Just as the shaman journeys to the other world to recover a lost soul, so each of us can make the spiritual journey to retrieve the European soul. This is a journey of high adventure, with unlimited rewards for us and for our descendants. And best of all, we know the way we must travel if we are to succeed in this all-important quest. Eurofolk lost their soul because they turned away from the wisdom of our forefathers and foremothers, sometimes by persuasion, but more often by fire and sword in the course of a 1,000-year war waged from Rome to the Baltic as tribe after tribe and nation after nation fell before a military, political, and economic onslaught that sought to crush our heritage. It is likely that you personally had ancestors who died trying to preserve our ancient ways. But times have changed. We are more fortunate than those revered heroes of the past centuries. Soul loss was often bloody and hate-filled, but soul recovery is a loving, peaceful reclaiming of our spiritual birthright. To regain the soul of Eurofolk, we have only to turn once again to the way of the ancestors. And once we make that connection, there's a lot of good news. We find we do not need salvation. We find the world is not a valley of tears, but a place of beauty and wonder. We are not slaves to a tyrannical deity, but rather kin to the divine. The way of our ancestors is a way of hope, offering freedom, power, and fulfillment. When we reconnect with our spiritual birthright, we open ourselves to a cornucopia of gifts, a secure self-confidence, balance and grounding, assertiveness, wisdom, increased personal power, material abundance, the answers to the fundamental questions of human destiny and the nature of the universe. It's time to gain a sense of our identity and get right with ourselves. It's time to find the collective soul of our people and to restore it to our brothers and sisters, for our sake and for the sake of all life on earth. It is the role of the Asatru Folk Assembly to carry out this historic task. To find out more about us, visit our website at www.runestone.org. This is Steve McNallen of the AFA, saying bye for now, and we'll be back next week.